Gere Roe Mansfield from Monterey Media. Guys, do you know where my microphone is? Is it backstage? Thank you. All right.
Hi, I'm so pleased to be here on behalf of the film, and pretend Shirley's right here. She's much shorter than I am, by the way. But thank you all so much. You are the best audiences in film festival history. I love coming to Sedona, not just because it's beautiful, but because you guys are just all so wonderful and have made us all so comfortable over the years. Thank you, Patrick, for having us. I'm just so pleased to be a part of your festival. And everybody working for the festival, I mean, every one of you works so hard, and I just want to thank all the volunteers as well. Also, Shirley asked me, I know he sent her regrets, but she really tried really, really hard. There's nowhere she'd rather be right now than here instead of with her head on a pillow. And she also wanted to send her thanks and her absolute appreciation for everything you guys have done for her.
She's wonderful. You'll get to meet her around the festival. She's actually still saying she's going to do her media interview tomorrow, so we think that that's going to be happening, so you'll get to see her a lot. I know that you've been in a Q&A with her quite a bit, so can you tell us, I know she has some very fond memories of doing this film. How did they cast her? How did they decide, oh, this is Shirley?
This is a fun story. So none of you have seen Shirley tonight because she's not here. But Shirley has, as she's fond of saying, has not succumbed to the cutting process. So when they went to interview people and think about people for this film, James Twyman immediately called Shirley Knight. And he told her about the film, and they met, and she loved the whole idea of it. And she said, I'm just curious why you think I'm right for this film. Shirley's a very serious and method actor, and she's got a long history in her acting, and I don't know how many of you know the history, but it's like pages. And she does theater and TV and film. And she said, why am I right for this role, if you think I'm right? And he said, well, you embody the spirit of the woman. She's such a trooper. And he said, you also look your age, which is what he wants this woman would do. This woman would look her age and act her age. And Shirley fell in love with him right then and made the movie. And she walked all those miles that you saw on there. There was never a stand-in. There was never anyone, and she did indeed get blisters. And I'm supposed to thank Jimmy Twyman every time for those $400 sneakers he got for her. So if you're going to go out and buy yourself a pair, let me know where if you find them at discount, because they were $400.
And James Twyman had a cameo in the film. Yes, did you all catch it? Yeah? The Minister, yeah, exactly. And I understand you've distributed both his other film as well.
Yes, so we distributed his, I believe it's his first film, which was called Indigo. And that was easily 10 years ago. And when he made Redwood Highway, we were honored that he called and said, there's no one else that can take this out but you. Yay, Monterey.
Nice.
Also, in his house in Oregon made a cameo as well. It's the apartment, or the place that the young daughter and her boyfriend are in, where he's playing the guitar and she's talking on the telephone. So you've actually had an inside peek at Jimmy Twyman's house.
And he would have been here, but he's in Mexico. He's trying to get residency or something in Mexico. He needed to stay there.
Yeah,
right?
they don't let you out if you're trying to establish residency. And it also takes him like 9 hours to get here or something.
Yeah.
So, but it was the residency thing that when he checked into it, that he can't leave for another, isn't it 90 more days?
Yeah, 90 more days. So if any of you have any questions, raise your hand and Gere will answer them for you. Can you tell us where the story came from? How did he get involved in making the story and decide to?
You have such good questions.
I know. It's as
Why
if
don't
I've
you
been
have
prepped.
a seat over here? James Twyman, I'm sorry, he was Jimmy when I met him, but he's James now. James Twyman has decided that what this world needs, because we do have a wonderful aging population, and what we need is films for this population. Right? And he started something, you may have seen the credit at the beginning of the film, that is ageless cinema. And I must tell you, at Screen Actors Guild, when we did this screening last Friday, the average age of the audience was maybe 35, and they laughed and hooted at that. But some of us here in this audience are very appreciative of that. So he has concocted several stories that are senior-oriented, and in appreciation of his family and people he has known. And he's using senior actors in them. He's also using, these are SAG films, but he's also using local actors who may not get a chance to act all the time. So he's using homegrown actors in many of the films. And he wants to make them like we used to make movies in the old days, he said.
I noticed that Monterey also distributed The Girl on the Bicycle, is it?
Yes, did you get to see that today?
I did, I loved
Wasn't
it.
it cute?
And what's your criteria for picking up something and wanting to distribute it?
I liked it. My criteria is generally this, and you know, I like a film generally to have some star value because that's what gets you all in here if you recognize the name. You don't really know it's a good story until you sit through the film, or at least see the trailer. By then I've already spent tens of thousands of dollars. So I have to know that it's someone that you might like to watch, that it's a good story, that it's well photographed. And as you saw with Redwood Highway, it's just gorgeous. The same thing with Girl on a Bicycle. They're both wonderfully photographed. We have another film here this weekend called The Girl on the Train. Okay, well there you go, that's mine too. And each one of these films, we have an acquisitions committee, and I get little cards from them like you have tonight. You'll do those little white cards. And of course now you have to pick one of my 3 films, and so that's really hard for you to do. But I take their note cards and I don't read them. And I take them home and I stick a DVD in, or I turn my Vimeo link on, and I pledge to watch 20 minutes of the film. If I watch the whole film, I acquire it. If I don't watch the whole film, I read the cards and see what everybody else thought, and then I pass on it. And that's just kind of how we work. I loved this film. I had elderly parents that I've lost recently. I could identify with this film tremendously. Pretty soon that's going to be me walking that highway because I walk 40 miles every year for the Avon Breast Cancer Walk. And so I know how it feels to do those walks. I also just, it's sort of a gut feeling. I've been doing this for 30 years. So it's a good question, but I think you just kind of know what you can sell and what the audiences are going to respond to and what they're not. Anybody else?
Can you talk about the backstory, so to speak, of what she was going through with her husband and whatever else was going on?
You know, the wonderful thing about being Shirley's nursemaid has been that I got all these stories. So I also flew in with her. So we took a little car trip to get up here from the airport, and I made her tell me all these things, and now I'm extremely grateful for more than one reason. I can share them with you. Her backstory is because she works from knowing the character, and her philosophy is that you can't act this character, you have to be this character while you're working. And so she builds her backstory, and the backstory was, of course, she lost her husband. She wasn't always the sweetest lady. She was a little persnickety once in a while. And she had a falling out with the son, because sons and moms do that sometime. There was an issue with the father many, many years ago, and she fooled around a bit. And which is why the son doesn't really approve of her lifestyle, but the son is separated from his wife and child. And they don't get along with those because of that also. She has all of these reasons why they're not getting along. The reason she didn't want to go to the daughter's wedding is because she was married very young to the sailor that she does in the flashbacks. And that was the marriage that went awry. And she was very, very sad because she kind of let that happen. And she couldn't come to grips with it until later on when she went and had her epiphany on the beach. And once she had that epiphany, she realized that she was keeping her granddaughter from marrying because she didn't want her to make the same mistake she made when she was such a young lady and got married. And the whole lesson there is that, you know, you have to let everyone live their own lives and be grateful that you're just a part of it. Did that answer your question? Okay.
Hi, I enjoyed the movie. It was reminiscent of A Straight Story, David Lynch and the Disney release with David Lynch, which is also a beautiful story. In the journey, one of the things I found interesting is someone, let alone her age, but a female, that would walk this country, and the good and the bad and the ugly that arises when she does such a journey. And it's interesting to me that you said you've walked as well. When this was being written, the dangers, with that scene with the boys at the end, putting that in there, a straight story didn't show that. Didn't show the ugly side of the risks involved with really doing something like that. And the choice behind, where are you going to take this story? What's going to happen to her and those choices that you did. I'm just curious if the thoughts that went into that process.
Well, I really can't speak for James on that point, but I can tell you that I walk all the time, and when I saw that scene, I thought of how often I'm walking at dusk. I live in the Malibu Mountains, and I feel very safe there. However, it's not uncommon for a car to get lost where I'm walking and pull over to the side of the road and ask me for directions, and how easily I could be talking to the wrong person. And the realism with that, I think, was what Jimmy was able to tell the story of for all of us, is that she was taking risks by doing this that she had never thought of. And I think that illustrates further the point that when she was younger, she was rather impulsive and didn't always think things through very carefully. And she's a little stubborn, you gotta admit.
Gere, you may not know the answer to this question, do you happen to know how long the shoot was?
23 days.
Gotcha. Oh, you did. Well, you did well. Nice. And how many of those days was she walking? Did they do a lot of the walking?
Well, there was, because that rainstorm that she's in the yellow slicker, where she puts that on, she says that this was one of those shoots that was blessed. On the days they shot in Oregon, on the days when they needed rain, it rained. On the days when they were boarded to have it not rain, it didn't rain. And she said, this has just never happened. So those of you that follow James Twyman, I'm not telling you, you should listen to him, but, he didn't get the rain and he did get the sun, so he's got some pull somewhere.
Nice. Well, and Gere, we can give a shameless little plug, because she's also a restaurant owner in Prescott. So she lives in Malibu, but she has a restaurant here, so they're here all the time. So tell them where they should visit in Prescott.
Oh, well, if you must. You have to eat while you're in Prescott anyhow. You may as well eat the Historic Palace. It's right on the square, and it's really good. And if you tell Dave that Gere Mansfield sent you, he'll buy you dessert.
See, there's a reason you all stuck around tonight. We want to thank Gere, and please give Shirley our best and tell her we hope that we see her tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday here.
That's from Shirley.
Azadi Fine Rugs has a peace rug they want to present to her, and we have a Lifetime Achievement Award we're presenting to her as well at her next screening. So thank you all for coming. Thanks for understanding and being so kind. And remember to vote for the film. Thank you, Gere.